What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Emphasis on Sports. I'm your host, Damon Anthony, and as usual, we emphasize on sports, on gameplay, on inside the lines, all the stuff outside people's personal business, not at work. Like, subscribe if you're new. Also, we're available on all streaming platforms. Check us out, Emphasis on Sports, hosted by yours truly. Now, since we're talking sports, we got to talk the biggest news in the sports world in the last 24 hours. Check it. Coming home yesterday. I see it. Get a notification. I actually text somebody, a fan. He ain't believe me though. That Micah Parsons got traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers for a defensive tackle and 2 first-round picks. Me personally, I believe Jerry probably could have got a little more from Micah and probably should have got a little more. I've been hearing all the chatter and seeing all the talk and all the reports all day. Different people thinking different things. I saw Skip Bayless say that this is going to improve the Cowboys defense. I don't know if any of that is true. I just know from everything that Micah Parsons has done, probably could have got a little more for him. I have my own theory, and I'm going to share that in a minute. But listen, I think everybody knows I'm not a Cowboy fan. I got a little Cowboy hate in me. There's an old traumatic youth story that has to do with that. It has nothing to do with the crazy fans now. So for me, I love seeing Cowboy Nation in shambles. I really did text. There's 2 people, 2 Cowboy fans that are close, near and dear to my heart that I reached out to yesterday. One just to say, wow, couldn't believe the trade. But then also I wanted to check their temperature. You know, those fans go through a lot. I wanted to see if they were all right. So I texted a buddy of mine. We start texting back and forth kind of about the trade. Then he calls me. Now we're talking about the trade. We're talking about sports. We move on to basketball. We can talk about a wide variety of things. And at some point, the man says, oh, yeah, college football is on. Let me turn on ESPN. And it took about 2 minutes for him to say, oh, my God, you weren't lying. Nah, bro, I wasn't lying at all. The trade was made. There's a lot of confusion going on right now, at least in Cowboy Nation. The Packers, this makes the Packers a little bit more of a contender. This actually puts them into contender rank. Usually one defensive player doesn't do that unless you're like a Deion Sanders or something like that. But what this does, you put a certified pass rusher there. Now defenses have to key in. Now you have to chip. You have to put a double over there. Sometimes you have to put a triple. This is going to free up the rest of that defensive line to be able to do work. It's going to free up the rest of those linebackers to be able to do work. So this is going to be a different thing for the Packers. Definitely got to see how Micah fares in the cold weather that he's going to be in, because it's a little different. It's a much different thing playing in Green Bay versus playing in Dallas. Fan base wise, he's going to learn, man. These are super loyal, not going anywhere fans. Green Bay is a lot smaller, a lot different than Dallas. So the interaction is going to be different. Nothing that I don't think Micah can handle, but it's just going to be different. Everything about the place. You're not dealing with Jerry Jones. You're dealing with the community. Jerry Jones owns the Cowboys. Multiple people. Community pretty much owns the Packers. So it's a little bit different there. I think Mike is going to enjoy it. I actually think he's going to do really well. The cold weather is the cold weather. The dude played at Penn State. It's not like it's warm there, so I think he'll be fine and figure it out. But it's just something to see. This definitely changes the landscape in both the NFC East and the NFC North. Now in the NFC North, I still say that Detroit is the best team in that division, but now Green Bay is a close second to them. Green Bay is always going to be a good competitive team anyway. Jordan Love looks like the next quarterback in that succession of Packers quarterbacks. So they're going to be good. They're going to be competitive. But now you add a defensive piece that changes everything. Now you have to key in on it. When you look at Detroit, they have Aiden Hutchinson. You look at some of these other teams in the NFC, they have players. You look at the 49ers, for instance. You got Nick Bosa. You got Fred Warner. There's guys that make you change everything that you're doing on offense. You have to key into them. That's what Micah is. Now you look at the NFC East. 2 days ago, I felt like the Cowboys could compete with the Eagles and Commanders, really based on their offense and the fact that they did have some of those defensive pieces. Now, I don't know how well they compete. I just don't. Now, offensively, they'll be fine. They're going to put up some points. They're going to be able to play on offensive end. Now, what about stopping people? You can't let Jalen Hurts sit back there. You cannot let Jaden Daniels sit back there. You can't. You better do something with those guys. If not, you're going to be hurt. Offensively, Cowboys still going to be up there, but defensively, they've definitely taken a little bit of a fall. If we're going to be real. Now, on to what I believe happened, or at least what I think Jerry is thinking. If this is true, if it works out this way, maybe this wasn't a bad trade, but it's going to take a lot for it to work out this way. I'm pretty sure, I haven't been scouring the internet left and right to hear about people's different takes on it. I actually came up with this take, I don't know, maybe a half hour after the trade while I was talking to my buddy that didn't realize I was telling the truth. But this is what I think happened. I'm going to give Jerry credit for a little bit of foresight. What I believe happened with this trade was, I think Jerry, in his heart of hearts, when he stepped back and looked at his team, the team that he had assembled, I really think he looked at it and said, we're not going to win with this team. We're not going to win a Super Bowl with this team. Not this year. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. So how can we do something for the future? Well, one thing you can do is you could take your most coveted piece on your defense. You could trade them, get another defensive player, and a couple ones. And with the number one picks, I think he's looking at Dak and he's saying, all right, Dak, love you. Paid you a lot. But we're getting to the end of your career. I don't know how long that's going to be, but we're getting to the end. And everything that I've seen, you're a great, fantastic regular season quarterback. But you haven't got it done for us in the playoffs. So we have to look for our next quarterback. Now, Jerry, to me, he's smart enough to know it makes no sense trying to go out and sign up somebody. Because one, you're going to have to spend a bunch of money. Then two, the expectations for said quarterback is hard to live up to. For instance, if somehow or another Patrick Mahomes became the Cowboy, the level of expectation is so high. Plus, that you only have but so much time left with Patrick. And is he always going to be what you saw he was? I believe Jerry wants to bring a quarterback in, a rookie, pedigree him where he wants, and let it roll. And I personally think all of this was done to try and get Arch Manning. I think what the man did was get those number one picks. And then if Arch comes out next year, let's say Arch comes out after this year, well, I could package those two number ones with whatever number one pick I have, trade up to get the number one overall draft pick and bring in Arch Manning because there's less worry. Are there big expectations? Sure. But any owner has to know if you draft Arch Manning, you're getting the Manning lineage walking through that door. You're getting Peyton. You're getting Eli. You're going to get Archie. You're going to get Cooper. Everybody's going to be around. And everybody is going to be training this kid on all the things that you want a quarterback to do and making sure that it's done right, coached right. We know the mental is going to be right. We know where he came from. We've seen the generational talent out of the Mannings. I personally think this is what Jerry wants to do. He's doing all of this to bundle up some ones to reach up and go get Arch Manning when he can. Will that work? Who knows? You may be dealing with a team that can care less about what the Cowboys want. And they can say, you know what, you can stick them picks where the sun don't shine. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. But I think that there's a little bit of method to the madness. I just think that it was done maybe the wrong way. If this is what Jerry wanted to do, Pull the trigger, do this a couple months ago. You wait until about a week before the season starts. So now everything has to be adjusted. Your whole defensive game plan has to be changed. Your fans are in an uproar and confused. The media has no idea what's going on there. Do that a couple months earlier. Now everybody can get over it, and we can just look forward to the season. So I really want to see what's going to happen there. It's going to be interesting. Man, the NFL don't miss. The NFL does not miss. You hear me? But other things around the league, I'm really, really interested in seeing Tennessee. What's Tennessee going to be? I know it's a wild take, but I think they're going to be all right. We know Cam Ward's decent, and they do have some players, so I want to see that. There's a lot of these little teams that I'm just waiting to see how they bubble, how they play out. As I'm sitting here right now, I really can't tell you who's the worst team in the league. I think it's going to be the Browns, the Jags, possibly Tennessee, possibly the Panthers, but I don't know. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens. All right. I don't know if anybody paid attention last night, but college football week one, actual week one, started last night. I did have my TVs on. I'm watching games. I'm having a good time. Saw USF upset Boise State. I actually thought Boise State might have played a little better coming into this one, ranked top 25. But as I said in the last episode, I wanted to see what they had after Ashton left. We saw it. They went to South Florida, got properly upset. Other games to note, the area I'm at, UCF is big. UCF, tough. I thought they were going to put up a lot of points. Won that one 17-10. There was some stops due to lightning and weather. Maybe that had a little bit to do with it. Throughout the rest of the day, there were Duke beat the hell out of Elon, Missouri, put a thumping on Central Arkansas, which made sense. That should happen. There weren't too many other notable games, notable upsets. There was one, Nebraska and Cincinnati. That was a game. There were some stars out to watch that one, especially, you have alumni. But one thing that's weird to me, the quarterback for Nebraska, Rayola, there's a big single white female thing going on, him and Patrick Mahomes. That Patty has to feel like this is weird. He has to feel like this is weird, right? Because if this guy makes it to the NFL and you got a clone walking in, weird. Very weird. But Nebraska did end up snaking that one at the end, winning 20-17. Tonight, I'm getting ready for a couple games, big ones to watch for me. Actually, the big one. There's really only one game that I really care about watching. Colorado and Georgia. Georgia Tech. Colorado and Georgia Tech. Colorado's at home, but now we get to see what the Buffs look like post the Sanders kids, post Travis Hunter. You got Prime there. Me personally, now I feel like I can see if Prime is a good coach or not. I don't know. Nobody really knows, right? We know that he's a good leader. We know he could lead men. We know he could take young men and get them going in the way that he wants them to go. But is he a good coach? X's and O's. Now you don't have your guys there, your stars there. Now you have your new recruits, the guys that came up after them. Are they going to be able to play to that same level? Are they going to take Colorado over the mountaintop, or at least up the mountain? Get me into the playoffs. Let's see what we can do. I want to see if that happens. I want to see if Coach Prime can get them there. Do I believe he can? For sure, absolutely. But now only time will tell. So now we'll actually see if it happens. So that's going to be a big one to watch tonight. There is one top 25 team playing. Illinois does host Western Illinois tonight. I'll probably keep a little bit of an eye on that one, but to be honest with you, for me personally, that one doesn't really mean too much for me. Not tonight. Now tomorrow's the day. With the realignment, we're getting a lot more huge games very early in the season. Now, being where I'm at, I'm in SEC country with a sprinkle of Florida State on the side. So I'm actually talking a lot more college sports. And from what I'm understanding, there's a lot of fans, a lot of SEC fans that aren't really that happy that we're getting some of the matchups that they're getting so early. And for me, oh well. I've long thought that if the SEC is going to be the best conference, let's get them schedules in. Let's stop playing some of these bum schools. Actually match up against big boys or against other major conference schools all year round. I know there's a money play involved in it, but don't tell me you're the best if you're not playing against top quality opponents. I'm not taking anything away from SEC. Trust me on that. But I actually like this schedule. I mean, some of these games that are being played, Texas, Ohio State, that's a humongous game to start a season. Humongous. They'll always give us one of those at the beginning of the year, but this one is on a different level. You have the reigning national champs versus Texas Longhorns, Arch Manning, who I talked about before. This is the team that's trying to get to the national championship and win one, win another one. It's been a while for them. Steve Sarkisian, he stays in his bag. He's a great coach. He really is. Interesting dude, great coach. So this is a game that's huge. Syracuse and Tennessee, huge, big games. I love that matchup. You look at some of these other matchups as we go down the list. There are some really good ones tomorrow. Bama and Florida State. That is, I'll be home for that one. I should get home in the second half on that one from work. Definitely cozying up to that because I think that's going to be a real good game. I want to see what Bama has after Milroe. I want to see if Florida State can get back to where they were a couple years ago. Do I believe they will? I'm not 100%, but you never know with college football. It is Florida State. They are the Seminoles. There is some history there. So maybe we get a hell of a game. A big night game tomorrow night, LSU at Clemson. This is one that I might pop some popcorn, might fire up the grill. That is going to be a huge one. I'm going to have to miss that early game, but I will not miss that one. Anytime you can have teams like LSU and Clemson, those are two top 10 teams playing in the first round, that's what you want to see as a sports fan. Sunday, we're talking Virginia Tech and South Carolina. We're talking Notre Dame and Miami, another matchup with two top 10 teams. I want to see what Notre Dame brings to the table this year. I felt old looking at their receiver room because the fathers of the receivers are guys I grew up watching. Some of them not even grow up watching. I was grown watching. And now their kids are at Notre Dame. I want to see what happens with that game. Monday night, this one isn't a huge game. For me, I'll probably be tuned in, but I know I'm going to have some fantasy football drafts coming up soon. But TCU, North Carolina, that should be a pretty interesting game, pretty cool game to watch. So I will check that one out. But football season, I'm telling you, know how to get it started. We start college football off, then we get a mega trade. Now have this hell of a weekend coming on. Be still, my sports beat heart. I'm loving every moment of this. I absolutely am. Don't forget, next week, Monday, we're going to do a breakdown of all of the divisions. I'm going to predict division winner, conference winner, predict awards, Super Bowl winner, whole 9 yards. We'll talk just a small bit about fantasy. I was going to do maybe a fantasy special, but the actual facts of it all, I don't know enough about all these players to actually sit here and try and talk fantasy. I don't want anybody out there to pick some stuff because I said pick it, and now you're mad at me because your team is trash. I'm not saying I pick trash teams, but sometimes people hang on every word and go where they want to go. I can typically, when I draft, I may have my blueprint of what I want, but you all know the person picking in front of you don't care nothing about that blueprint. So then it changes everything. So you have to have your own mindset. So I didn't really want to do a fantasy episode, but we are going to break down the NFL. That's near and dear to my heart. I have no problem doing that. That's going to happen on Monday. Wednesday, we're going to talk all about the upcoming matchups because we do have games Thursday. We do have a game on Friday. Going to be real cool. Loving the fact that football is back. You hear me? All right. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. You know how we do around here. Until next time, I will howl.